Alrighty. In doing my reading lately, I came to Jeremiah, and I finished Jeremiah, but I think we're living in a time akin to Jeremiah 38, and I'd like to read that. It's not as long as some of my other stuff, but here we go. Now, Shephatiah, the son of Matan, and Jedaiah, the son of Pashur, and Jucal, the son of Shelemiah, and Pashur, the son of Malchijah, heard the words that Jeremiah was speaking to all the people, saying, Thus says the Lord, He who stays in this city will die by the sword, and by famine, and by pestilence. But he who goes out to the Chaldeans will live and have his own life as booty, and stay alive. Thus says the Lord, this city will certainly be given into the hand of the army of the king of Babylon, and he will capture it. Then the officials said to the king, Now let this man be put to death, inasmuch as he is discouraging the men of war who are left in the city, and all the people by speaking such words to them. For this man is not seeking the well-being of this people, but rather their harm. Now, where have I heard that? When we speak God's truth, it gets called hate speech. And we're not looking for the well-being of man. The people in the city that God said is not going to endure, and in fact will fall. Okay. Let us continue. So, King Zedekiah said, it goes along with being politically correct. So King Zedekiah said, Behold, he is in your hands, for the king can do nothing against you. Then they took Jeremiah and cast him into the cistern of Malchijah, the king's son, which was in the court of the guardhouse. And they let Jeremiah down with ropes. Now in the cistern there was no water, but only mud, and Jeremiah sank in the mud. But Ebed-melech, the Ethiopian, a eunuch, while he was in the king's palace, heard that they had put Jeremiah in the cistern. Now the king was sitting in the gate of Benjamin. And Ebed-melech went out from the king's palace and spoke to the king, saying, My lord, the king, these men have acted wickedly in all they have done to Jeremiah, the prophet, whom they have cast into the cistern, and he will die right where he is because of the famine, for there is no more bread in the city. So they put Jeremiah in a cistern because they didn't like his message. Who was he being obedient to? He was being obedient to the Lord. And look at the persecution that happens. Then the king commanded Ebed-melech the Ethiopian, saying, Take 30 men from here under your authority, and bring up Jeremiah the prophet from the cistern before he dies. So Ebed-melech took the men under his authority and went to the king's palace to a place beneath the storeroom, and took from there worn-out clothes and worn-out rags, and let them down by ropes into the cistern to Jeremiah. And Ebed-melech the Ethiopian said to Jeremiah, Now put these worn-out clothes and rags into your armpits under the ropes. So Jeremiah did so. So they pulled Jeremiah up with the ropes, and they lifted him out of the cistern, and Jeremiah stayed in the court of the guardhouse. Then King Zedekiah sent and had Jeremiah the prophet brought to him at the third entrance, that is, in the house of the Lord. And the king said to Jeremiah, I am going to ask you something. Do not hide anything from me. Then Jeremiah said to Zedekiah, If I tell you, will you not certainly put me to death? Besides, if I give you advice, you will not listen to me. But King Zedekiah swore to Jeremiah in secret, saying, As the Lord lives, who made this life for us, surely I will not put you to death, nor will I give you over to the hand of these men who are seeking your life. Okay, Isaiah prophesied the fall of Jerusalem. Jeremiah did. And now it's just about to happen. The kings heard it. And here's the interview, and this is the wonderful thing. Then Jeremiah said to Zedekiah, Thus says the Lord God of hosts, the God of Israel, If you will indeed go out to the officers of the king of Babylon, then you will live. This city will not be burned with fire, and you and your household will survive. Just a couple verses before, The Lord had prophesied over and over and for years that the city would be burned with fire. And now, the city will not be burned with fire if you will go out. But if you will not go out to the officers of the king of Babylon, then this city will be given over the hand of the Chaldeans, and they will burn it with fire, and you yourself will not escape from their hand. Then King Zedekiah said to Jeremiah, I dread the Jews who have gone over to the Chaldeans, for they may give me over into their hand, and they will abuse me. So now he's worried about man again, and he's worried about the Jews that were initially went into exile. But Jeremiah said, they will not give you over. Please obey the Lord in what I am saying to you, that it may go well with you, and you may live. That's good advice for us all. But if you keep refusing to go out, this is the word which the Lord has shown me. Then behold, all the women who have been left in the palace of the king of Judah are going to be brought out to the officers of the king of Babylon. And those women will say, your close friends have misled you and overpowered you, while your feet were sunk in the mire. Interestingly, Jeremiah was in the cistern, sunk in the mud, but it was really the king who was in the mire. They will also bring out all your wives and your sons to the Chaldeans, and you yourself will not escape from their hand, but will be seized by the hand of the king of Babylon, and this city will be burned with fire. Then Zedekiah said to Jeremiah, let no man know about these words, and you will not die. But if the officials hear that I have talked with you, and come to you, and say to you, tell us now what you said to the king, and what the king said to you, do not hide it from us, and we will not put you to death. Then you are to say to them, I was presenting my petition before the king, not to make me return to the house of Jonathan to die there. Then all the officials came to Jeremiah and questioned him. So he reported to them in accordance with all these words which the king had commanded. And they ceased speaking with him, since the conversation had not been overheard. So Jeremiah stayed in the court of the guardhouse until the day that Jerusalem was captured. One final note there. Zedekiah interviewed Jeremiah. Jeremiah pleaded with him to obey the Lord, which would save his own life, would prevent the city and all the prophecy from being burned. But Jeremiah gave the king respect, even though he knew that the Lord was about to bring judgment. The Chaldeans, the Babylonians, were about to overthrow Jerusalem. So even though he knew Zedekiah was a dead man because he wasn't going to obey the Lord, he still respected him. He still respected his position. I think Jeremiah chapter 38 is a wonderful, wonderful chapter.